Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy MKS here, back with part 3 of my shopping list for life. I'm probably going to try and rattle through this one quite quickly because afterwards I'm probably going to have a nap. As I mentioned in part 1, I have the house to myself for a while, other than the dog, which doesn't tend to get away that much, except when he barks or gets annoying. But anyway, so I thought I'd make the most use of the day, but I'm probably going to have a nap after this one because I normally do have a cat nap or whatever you want to call it. In the early evening or whatever. Anyway, I'll try not to waffle too much. As ever, I'd love to hear your thoughts and any constructive criticism or any encouragement or anything you want to comment in the comment section. Which were your least favourite and most favourite, please do comment those sorts of things. And also, if you want to give me a mark out of 10 or something like that, it'd be great. If it's a harsh one, I'll take it on the chin. But yeah, I'd love to have your constructive criticism as much as anything else, so I can learn to improve. But also, obviously, if there's any positive comments or encouragement, like if you're dyslexic or dyspraxic, or you've got any other neurodiverse condition like ADHD or whatever like that, or mental health problems or whatever, and you have been inspired by this video or whatever, or anyone who's inspired by this video generally, I'd love to hear from you. And as I say, any encouragement or anything like that. Anyway, here goes. So number 21. Please check out parts 1 and 2 if you already done so. I would love to. Sometimes I'd love to have a better memory and remember. I come up with. I think it's because of the dyslexia thing. Probably this is why dyslexic people have such bad memories, because we have so many ideas that and we think so much that perhaps that makes it. I mean, if you think of one or two things, as I think some people say, like if you want to try and remember things better, like for an exam or anything like that, you should try and repeat it to yourself so many times, because you can only remember so many things. And I suppose if you have so many ideas, like many of us dyslexics have, it's so difficult to focus on and remember things. So I'd love to be able to remember things, and sometimes I come up with an idea and think, oh, I've got this idea, and then I try and remember it and it's gone by the time I try and remember. But I'd love to hear on that note if anyone or read if anyone comment in the comment section for myself and others, like any productivity or memory tools you use if you're dyslexic or dyspraxic, or again have any mental or learning or physical disabilities. What sort of things help you to remember things or to feel better or anything like that? If you can share those tips, they'll help me out, and also potentially also help. Even if they don't help me out, they could help other people who might watch or see in the comment section, and I could perhaps cover them in future videos. I'd love to collaborate in the future as well, but with talking about memories, I'd love to, remembering one idea, I'd love to collaborate with other YouTubers, especially people with learning disabilities or mental health problems or disabilities or from disadvantaged backgrounds, so we can help each other as much as possible, and that sort of thing. Also, on that note, in part 2, I forgot to mention like how I'd love to create organisations which specifically will be set up to help Indigenous, African, and Australic or Australasian people in tech, in software development, in game making, game development, stuff like that, and that sort of thing. Number 22, on the subject of remembering things, there's some things I'd love to be able to forget, to be honest, and also like to move on with things and deal with things. Again, it would be great if people share in the comment section any links or anything like that about ways you deal with things like loss or grief or disappointments or whatever. Again, it would help me potentially help me and others. Like if there are certain tips that we might not thought of, which you can, which could give us tips, basically, me answering or other people, to give us tips of, or them tips at least, of how to move on from negative things, or how to not dwell on mistakes or negative things, or how to overcome things like shyness or whatever. I know that because I can be very shy myself. And like I could think of one thing, is like the book Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, which is quite a popular book for self-help and development, so it might be worth checking out. But again, sharing links like that in the comment section it might help me and record other people. And also there's a book, I don't really tend to read many books, but I'm quite a reluctant reader, so I can't remember the last time I actually read a book, if I'm honest. I do love writing, but I normally get my inspiration from YouTube or things like that, from other YouTubers, or like Evan Carmichael's channel. I think that's really good. Or dyslexic, famous dyslexics, or things like that. But there's a book I saw in the library. I didn't really read it, perhaps I should have done. And it was called SUMO, which is an acronym for Suck It Up and Move On, or something like that. I think it was, which is about like not dwelling on things like mistakes or things you're disappointed. Recently, that's quite a big one for me, but I'm sure other people are going through things as well. So I think when we have problems, we sometimes don't think of other people who are also going through problems. Anyway, trying to be philosophical, but yeah, moving on. Number 23, I would love to have this network of investors. As I mentioned in part one, again, I'd love to do everything legally and ethically, or ethical to my own conscience. So everything I do, I try and be as legal and ethical as possible. Like when I used to drive, because I don't really drive anymore, I used to go a few miles per hour over the speed limit. So that was probably the only law that I break, though. I tend to try and stick to the law and also treat other people as I wish to be treated, and things like that as much as I can. I'm not saying I'm 100% perfect at it, but I do my best. But yeah, I'm not sure with anti-monopolization laws and things like that. This might be a pipe dream of mine again, but using my dyslexic and dyspraxic and imagination and creativity, I thought it would be quite interesting if like different investors could somehow network together, like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, like Cascade Investments, Berkshire Hathaway, Bridgewater, BlackRock, and other investors. If they all, or as many of them as possible, could like have a network where they invest in certain things, and I'd love them to invest in certain things like African. Start from a selfish one, which is Italian football. Also Celtic FC, but I'd love them to invest in things like human rights and former colonies, developing countries, African technology again, supporting Africans in STEM and software development, especially, and things like that. So investing in those things, and maybe there could be like tax exemptions, or maybe the fact if they do invest in developing countries and things like that, hopefully that will give them more legal rights to invest together. And I'd love to have like a network of. Another one of my quirky ideas a long time ago was like dyslexic people who happen to be billionaires. I call it Dyslexic Billionaires United Company, which would be like an investment, a network of dyslexic people who happen to be billionaires who pool their resources, funds, and money, funds, network, experiences, and whatnot together to invest in things, buy things in bulk. One of the ideas I had was like they buy things what I call the empties, which are like empty shops or premises, buildings or things like that, and make use of them by. And the argument could be the legal right. Why I think they should get legal right to do that would be because that would create lots of jobs and save from businesses being empty or unused. That goes back to the hoarder in me and wanting to make use of things as I would see it. But yeah, so. And I was thinking like how dyslexic people could show what we could do for Italian football. And one idea I had was, is dyslexic people who are wealthy investing in Italian football, which could be a part of showing what dyslexic people can achieve. And the fact that if people saw that network, even just seeing that there are dyslexic people who are super successful, at least financially. I know money isn't everything, but that could inspire a lot of people. When I was younger, I wanted to make a lot of money. Back then for myself, but now I'm more interested in philanthropy. But yeah, so also say on that note, supporting more poorer people. Number 24, again, I would love to support former colonies. And another thing I forgot to mention is that there are about five things I would love to focus on, and I think the less things you focus on, I know I come up with my 30-point lists and stuff like that, and I have a lot of ideas, but I think the less things you focus on, the better, because those you can give more attention to those things, symbolically, like I know some people say a thumb is not the same as a finger, but it's like 5 fingers on one hand. So it's 5 things I would love to focus on. One is Italian football from a selfish point of view. I choose that as number 1 because looking after number 1, it's a bit more selfish. 2 is Celtic. I say that's not as selfish because Celtic were an oppressed group of people who formed the football team. I can go into more details on that another time. Another is politics like libertarianism, freedom, human rights, animal rights, and things like that. A 4th thing is supporting former colonies, and a 5th thing could be supporting disadvantaged people around the world. So those are the sort of things I wish to focus on. That's why I love to be single and have my own space and live alone and have my own alone time or me time, although I like to network and collaborate with people. But if I made groups, I would love to focus on those 5 few things so that I could have more focus, and as a team we could have more focus. Like if I sat together in a room with different people, I'd want to specifically focus on those 5 areas or 5 things that I hope to develop to help others, generally speaking, as well as a bit selfish in some ways, but mostly helping others. Sorry for waffling. Number 25, as I've often mentioned in the past, I would love to support Republics. Number 26, I would love to build a network of anti-imperialists, or dare I say people of colour, to support people of colour and struggle anti-imperialists generally, to support former colonies and support what I call the 6, which I mentioned in the past. Or support their ancestral homelands. And I'd love for my fellow mixed race people to support, especially Eurasians like myself, to support Malaysia, India, Indonesia, and Singapore, and also South Africa, because they have quite a mixed race group in those countries. I hope that made sense. Number 27, I hope to acknowledge those who support me as much as possible, and like give thanks and things like that. Again, like for each piece of work I get done or project I get done, I hope to share a biblical verse, a biblical quote to thank God for the opportunity. Number 28, I hope to turn negative situations into positives. Number 29, I hope to cover these details these ideas in more detail in future videos, and welcome your questions. Again, I'd love to set up the MKS team. As I mentioned before, certain numbers remind me of certain things. So 29 being my birthday is the 29th of August. So normally for 29, I talk about like the MKS's United Group or MKS team, which I hope to work towards similar goals, as I say, those 5 things I talk about, for instance, mainly, if not solely, and that sort of thing. And number 30, again, as ever, I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions. And I am about to go to sleep, so I'm out. Peace and love.